As expected, prices rose and available inventory dropped this week for single-family homes around the country. It's the middle of January and the first of the spring buying season. Homes are being listed right now. As we've been noting, all the early leading indicators show demand as high as ever, with buyers fighting over tight inventory, the driving prices higher. This week is no exception. As you know, one of the reasons we do this analysis weekly is because when there are finally signals of a market turning, we want to see them quickly. For example, if mortgage rates continue to spike, how quickly do homebuyers notice and react? Each week, Altos tracks every home for sale in the country. We analyze all the pricing, supply and demand, all the changes in that data, and we make it available to you before you see it in the traditional channels. Traditional real estate data is monthly. And so by the time it gets to you, it's kind of old news. The news right now is that it's a hot market all ready for the spring. And the economic risks like rising rates or inflation, they have not yet derailed that eager buyer activity. I'm Mike Simonsen. I'm the CEO of Altos Research, and this is what the data is telling us right now. Let's start with home prices this week. The median price of a single-family home in the U.S. right now is just over $370,000. That's up a fraction from last week and 10% over last year. In this measure of asking prices around the country, this is a dark red line here. We're looking at the whole market, all the homes you'll see if you start shopping today. This includes stuff that was listed last fall. So the median home price climbs as new inventory hits the market each week in the spring. It's still early in the year. The bulk of the volume comes March, April, May. But you can see the home prices ticking up each week already. Each year, the absolute peak in asking prices hits right in the middle of summer. Last year, we peaked just under $400,000. Never quite got above $400K. You can imagine the psychological barrier for listing your house for sale. The big round numbers are hard to break. So if you can list your home at $404,000 or $399,000, you tend to list just under the big round number. So it'll be interesting this year to see when the median price in the U.S. crosses that $400,000 threshold. The light colored line here, the price of the newly listed cohort, is up this week also to $355,000. That's after a big jump last week. The price of the new listings just ticked up fractionally this week. Remember that the price of the new listings is where the sellers and the listing agents show us everything they already know about their local supply and demand. So when they see demand is hot, they know to price that next property a little bit higher. So big jump last week, little uptick this week. Expect to see more jumps in the price of the new listings in the next few weeks. If there were some sudden demand shift, this is one place where we'd pick it up quickly. No signs yet, but we always keep looking. Speaking of those new listings, we can see that almost 18,000 of the new listings that hit the market this week got offers and went into contract essentially immediately. That's up from 13,000 last week, which was still New Year's week transactions including. We have an additional 38,000 new listings this week that they're going to require more than a week before they go into contract. Heaven forbid. We can see right now that we're at the annual low area for the listings volume, and that it'll climb each week through Q1 and Q2. Each bar here is all the new listings each week. The light colored portion of the bar are those that went into contract immediately. So when we report this data, it's a little kind of abstract. So it's been fascinating to hear the last few weeks from Altos clients, subscribers, with their personal anecdotes about bidding wars and immediate sales that they're experiencing with their buyers and sellers right now. It's always satisfying when the stories from the boots on the ground jibe with the data. So the signal here is that immediate sales have not abated. continue to be 25 to 30% of the new listings. And they're building each week with the total volume as we roll into spring. Again, if the market cools, we should see the percentage of these new listings that sell immediately start to fall. The light colored line here will shrink as a proportion to the total. And that brings us to inventory for the week. As it's early in the year, the new listing volume is still low, and demand this year is unseasonably high again. So that recipe brings us to another record low for available unsold inventory. That we're down to 284,000 single-family homes on the market right now. Available inventory is a couple percent fewer than last week, 27% lower than last year, and 7% below the record low last year from April 30th. So the signal that we keep looking for here is where the annual bottom hits in 2022. It's not uncommon for inventory to drop a bit in January. That's fine. Bounce along the bottom maybe in February. But last year didn't bottom until April 30th. So this week, another drop. We're still looking for that annual bottom. We're not there yet. I'm also curious about investor and speculator activity in the market. When we get into the heavy frenzy mode, it triggers a lot of speculative buying. And when that speculation gets too intense, that's not a healthy sign. It's artificial competition for home buyers. It leads to fraud and other negative symptoms. The bubbles are really notable by the speculator activity. So one way to track that investor speculator activity is through price increases. The percent of homes on the market that we've seen earlier recently at a lower price. So with a fix and flip, you buy the property, you put a little money in, and then you resell it at a higher price. Price increases as a percentage of the market are really skyrocketing right now. Currently, 6% of the active market was recently listed at a lower price. You can see that's a sharp climb in the last few weeks. Slightly below last year, but well higher than any normal year. Usually a couple percent of the market has had price increases. We're going to be watching the price increase trend over the next few months to track the speculative activity in the super hot market. It's a little scary right now, frankly, so fingers crossed that the market mellows out. Okay, that's all the data we have time for this week. If you're a real estate professional, people often ask, Mike, can I get the local data for my buyers and sellers? The answer is yes. To get your local data for your buyers and sellers, go to altosresearch.com and join us. You get your data into your hands of your clients today. Because everybody needs to know what's going on. It's your opportunity to help them succeed. Also, this week is a new Top of Mind podcast episode will be available Wednesday. And last week's recording of the webinar, the January webinar where we spent an hour talking about all the data, is available on the Altos Research YouTube channel. So links are below in the description. Click those. Join us. I appreciate you being with us. More next week.